Hi Gemini, and welcome to your reading for November. Thanks for your patience. Tune in with me here while I shuffle, and I'd like to ask you to please set aside any tasks that you may have on the side. Please bring all of your presence and your awareness and your focus to this reading to make sure that you make the most out of your time here with me. While I'm shuffling, check in with your higher self and your guides. Ask them to connect with me, with my higher self and my guides, so that we can create a feedback loop. That way the messages that come through you today will be tailored for you. And if you just take a moment here to set up that dialogue, you'll find that this can very much be a personal reading for you. So we're going to have a look at the general energies available for you during this month. One more shuffle. Okay, Gemini. Two of Cups reversed, crossed by the Four of Pentacles reversed. Wheel of Fortune, Ace of Wands reversed, Ten of Swords reversed, Queen of Pentacles reversed, Page of Swords, Chariot reversed, Hermit, Four of Swords reversed, Ace of Pentacles, the Star reversed, Sun reversed, and Five of Wands. All right. Well, for me, it's pretty obvious that this reading, for some people watching you, there's some kind of dissonant energy with you and another person. There is some argumentativeness and maybe even immaturity. There's some I'm hearing dialogue, but I feel like the dialogue that may be happening might actually not be productive. That's my first impression from putting the cards down. It seems to me that any attempts to reconcile or to find common ground or to share a kind of awareness is actually causing a depletion or a loss of energy. That's what this Four of Pentacles is telling me in the crossing position of this reading. Now these two cards at the heart of the reading are describing the general theme of the reading. The general energy of the reading is this Two of Cups reversed, and this crossing card describes the challenge or the obstacle or the lesson here. It was this way actually. And then the cards in this quadrant of the reading describe you and how you see yourself right now, or how your energy is right now. And so between these four cards, what this is telling me is that your state at the moment is one which is attempting to impress your opinion, your point of view or your perspective on a situation with another person. And I'll get to that because there is other cards in this reading that is describing somebody else. But what you're actually generating with that is just simply noise, argumentativeness, conflict, drama, trouble. That's what I feel here with these two cards. So the general energy I'm getting from this spread is that there is a shift occurring here within your environment, within your dynamic with, could be specifically one other person, but it could also just describe in general the energy that you're bringing to your spaces that you're inhabiting, and whether that's your work environment, your home environment, your one-on-one relationships, your energy within groups. There is something here about there's something a little bit immature about your approach. And perhaps the need here to impress others with your opinion or with your point of view, but that's actually simply just creating an argumentativeness, and one which is not really landing in a place where there is understanding or collaboration or beneficial communication. That's what I feel with this Page of Swords. There's an immaturity in your approach to the way you're communicating about things, which is actually just creating more conflict. I don't feel there's energy in this reading which is providing possibility for resolution or mutual understanding. Now in this quadrant of the reading, which is your environment, you have both two major arcana cards in reverse. As you have also in the hopes and fears position, there's another two major arcana cards. You have Star reversed and Hermit upright. What this is telling me is that I'm hearing undermine. So you may be, again, with this immaturity in communication and this need to impress your opinions on others or your perspective on others, it feels to me like there's a desire here for you to undermine somebody's confidence. And again, with the Sun card here, this card, for me in this deck, this card is very much about romantic relationships or one-on-one. See how these two people are facing each other just like in the Two of Cups reading, there's a similar energy with these two cards. But they're both in reverse in this reading. And I feel with this, with the Chariot reverse, also with Sun in reverse in this quadrant, it kind of feels like an indication that your determination to, again, be willful. There's a willfulness about you at the moment, which is determined to have your opinion or your perspective or your comments or your etc. be the loudest or be the one which is dominant in a space, to be able to kind of impress others with what you know or what you believe to be true. It could be something that you may need to address here, because I feel that it's having an impact on others which is not necessarily beneficial. Like, there's what's jumping out at me right now when I look at this Wheel of Fortune card. You see this character here in the bottom corner of the card with the red stockings on. What I feel is that the energy that you are, there's something too, you're trying to be too penetrative rather than being receptive. And the bottom card of the deck after I'd shuffled is this Hanged Man, which is telling me that what your spirit, what your higher self wants you to know here is that a better approach to the circumstance that you're in is to be more receptive and more passive. But because because what I'm seeing here is that you're being too determined and headstrong and willful and even stubborn about having your perspective be the one that other people really pay attention to, it's causing this throwing off of energy. Like, either people are being discarded or people are removing themselves from your environment because that energy is too much. It's too much. Now, hopes and fears here. With the Hermit and the Star, Hermit upright and Star in reverse, what I feel this is saying here is that there is a need here for you to be, again, this energy that your guides and your higher self are bringing to this reading is one where they want you to see that there is a time required now of you to be more passive, more receptive, and less outward and penetrative and pushy with your thoughts and ideas and communications. They're saying here there's a need to be calm, to be quiet, to listen, to go within, to find wisdom in quiet spaces rather than filling up all the spaces with your thoughts and ideas in almost, I don't want to, it's not aggressive, but there's definitely something forceful about your desire to be heard at this time in a way that's really affecting others. And you may or may not be aware of how that's affecting others. You may be aware, but you might not care. But I feel like people around you are really being affected by your willfulness and your pushy, determined communication that is leaving people feeling depleted and sad. Even there's a sadness in some of this, the energy of these cards here that are showing how other people are affected. There's a feeling of hopelessness as well with this Star in reverse. It's kind of saying, like, you know, the people around you that are having to deal with you may not feel like there's any point in trying to communicate to you or to try and share a space with you, because you're just completely filling it up with your personal agenda and your personal will and your determined, forthright, pushy energy that's a bit stubborn and trying to, like, be right. It's trying to be right. And so you may find some people falling off. Some of your crew may be falling off here. Whether it's like friends or family members or teammates or partners, work partners or romantic partners, or just in general people who are around you. I feel like there's kind of a falling off energy, a falling away energy, where people may not have the desire to keep sticking around and being patient with you because they can't get a word in edgewise. Now, these extended cards, we have Hanged Man, Fool reverse, Tower reverse, and Eight of Wands. There's also Strength here in reverse. It's another number 8 there. So what I feel, I guess that card wants to come out too. So there's also the Knight of Swords and the Moon reversed. They kind of fell there, so I feel like it's part of the reading too. Now, what else is here? So there's a couple of cards in this spread that I didn't really specifically touch on, and I will now. So in the recent past, you have this Ten of Swords in reverse. In the foundation, you have Ace of Wands in reverse, and in the outcome, there's this Four of Swords in reverse and Ace of Pentacles upright. So what these 4 cards are giving me is that there has been some kind of dynamic shift in your circumstances in the recent past that are maybe making you realize that there is something critical that is requiring your presence and awareness, but you may not have, as I said, because you are, because I'm feeling your energy is being rather immature with the Page of Swords. Maybe you're talking too much and not giving space to other people. There's this energy that I'm feeling with this whole reading, all of it, where I feel like what you wish to express is the only priority to you. And that leaves other people around you feeling like a little hopeless, a little helpless, a little disinterested, or loss of patience, loss of willingness to try to be reasonable and be a listener, or be a cooperative party in a type of dialogue that's going on, because there's no space for them. And so there's this feeling of like of people falling away because you are just being too, again, I'm repeating myself, but there's this energy that's too pushy, too determined, too immature, a little bit arrogant, and needing to be right, that is causing other people to lose interest and maybe try to remove themselves because they feel like it's pointless. So the guidance here is that there is a need for you to switch gears here rather radically and be willing to take a more receptive space, to be receptive to your own wisdom in a quiet, meditative way, but also in the presence of others, be willing to be quiet and receptive to ideas and thoughts and perspectives of other people, to really see what potential you can create out of a situation that has been critical and needing of attention and needing of like rescue. There's an energy here of rescue. There's a need for rescue here, but your approach is not allowing for real healing to take place, because in a way what you're trying to do here is maintain the status quo. And that's actually what needs to shift. Like your perspective is one where you're very like stubborn and forthright and fixed in your perspective on what the circumstance actually is. But the energy of this spread and what your guides are sharing here is that there is a need here for a critical addressing of situation which has become stagnant, and you trying to maintain a stagnancy is going to be very detrimental, mainly to you, but also to the relationships that you're trying to maintain. So there's a need here for you to be willing to address what it is in you that is desiring to maintain the status quo, and strive to overcome your misappropriation of determination. You need to use that determination to seek the willingness to find the places in you that needs to change, rather than trying to attempt maintenance of structures and systems with a status quo that is presenting in a certain way that everyone else is unhappy and unsatisfied about it. And even you are too, but you just maybe not willing to show that you are able to admit that you were wrong maybe, or admit that you can see places where there is a need to evolve and change and grow. There's a lot of major arcana cards in this extended part of the reading. Hangman, Fool reversed, Tower reversed, Strength reversed, Moon reversed. So all those reversals in the extended part of the reading, along with, you know, there's a lot of major arcana reversals in this reading. That's an indicator to me that you are trying to push against the healing. You're trying to push against the healing. And as I said, you may need to seek to understand what is it in you that's trying to maintain the status quo, and where do you need to be willing to see that the critical point has already long passed, and you need to surrender, Hangman, to that which is needing to be overcome. And I'm hearing stifled now. So I feel like if there's energy in this reading where you may either be trying to stifle others, or you are stifling your own growth because you want to maintain circumstances as the way they are, that's the place you need to strive to find the willingness to overcome that resistance and address those areas, so that you can actually activate a clearing and a healing energy to be to be able to work in the spaces where there is that kind of tension, conflict, drama, argumentativeness, dissonance, any of those kinds of frequencies. Strength reverse here, and with the moon reverses, this feels really telling for me. This is saying to me that, again, there's a kind of stubbornness here with the strength reverse. Like, you may not be willing to acknowledge that you are being too fixed in the situation, and you may be trying to use your own strength against others, but it's also actually acting against you as well. This is telling me that you need to strive to overcome whatever instincts are telling you to try to maintain what's here, and you need to figure out how to access the energy within you that will enable a catalyzing effect to take place. That's what's needed here. This situation needs to catalyze heavily. Because with the Fool reverse as well, you're not able to come to this new beginning that you are actually desperately seeking. You're just trying to maintain, but this situation needs to really shift and transform. This Wheel of Fortune upright in the crowning card position of the reading, what this is telling me actually is that you may feel like your energy is acting upon circumstances in a way that is generating good energy for you and others, but I feel that you're fooling yourself here. You may be selling yourself short here if you try to trick yourself into thinking that what you're doing is beneficial to you and others, because it's not. It's clearly not. There is really clear guidance here saying that you need to surrender and be more receptive to wisdom. You need to be receptive to your own wisdom that's trying to access you, but you need to also be receptive and respectful of the wisdom that comes through others, in particularly this Queen of Pentacles that's in reverse here. This individual is highly evolved and very sensitive and very aware, and you may be trying to shut this person down because you don't want them to have any type of authority over you in a way. Right? Look at these three cards here. All this divine feminine energy is seeking to pierce through into your circumstance, and you're kind of blocking. You're kind of blocking with these four archetypes here. Even the Knight of Swords as well. The Knight of Swords is there in the extended cards, upright. Being too pushy, too arrogant, too brash, too determined to have your way be the way that everyone, succumbs to or submits to. So strive to be humble here, Gemini. Strive to be humble and acknowledge that if any of these points are touching a nerve with you and you're feeling pissed off at me, then that's probably because you need to hear this message and it's really accurate. That could be it for the general reading. I'm just going to check over here, make sure I've covered everything. Again, I would say with this Star card in reverse, what I feel is that you're blocking beneficial healing energy that's trying to access you and evolve you. And the need to be receptive with the Hermit here, with the Moon card in reverse, with Strength and the Fool and the Hangman. All these guidance cards here from the Major Arcana are saying, like, strive to overcome your own defensiveness, overcome your own headstrongness, overcome your own opinionated, determined willfulness to pursue your train of thought or your ideology or your own status quo and maintaining that. And see where it is that you may be blocking beneficial healing energy from coming in and impacting you and catalyzing you and transforming you. You actually on a soul level want this. That's why whatever situation you're in right now is actually happening. There is an orchestration on a very deep soul level, and that's another interpretation of this Wheel of Fortune card here, is that the steps that you've been taking over life in the last few years, days, months, years, lifetimes, have brought you to this point where there is this opportunity here for a major healing and a cleansing and a catalyzation of some very old fixed thought forms that you've been operating with. And there is a need to here for you to be utterly aware and present, to know that there is an opportunity here with a potential for you to be reborn in a way. But if you continue to try to pursue the status quo maintenance that it's apparent that you're trying to do here, You could miss this opportunity. But you might be kidding yourself into thinking that what you're doing is beneficial for you and others, but it's not true. All right, that's a general reading. Let's take a look at the higher octave reading here with the Voyager deck. So what I'm going to do here is another layout with the same spread using the holographic mandala spread that I've developed. And this reading is designed to provide a little more information, insight into what karmic forces and spiritual forces may be at play. Hopefully it will help reveal some blind spots that need to be addressed. And also maybe your guides can provide some practical guidance for how to best deal with and utilize the energy of the lessons that are at play to make the most out of what it is that we're being dealt at this time. So tune in again with me while I shuffle. Send your energy over into the deck. And let's see what your guides and your higher self want to tell you about your circumstance right now. One more shuffle. Okay. Lovers in reverse at the foundation. So it's a very similar energy to this Two of Cups. It's also your own card, right? The Gemini card archetypically is the lovers from the tarot. So Five of Crystals reversed, Five of Swords reversed, similar to this Five of Wands energy, crossed by the Man of Cups, Ten of Wands reversed, Eight of Cups reversed, Balance here, which is the Justice card, which actually was at the bottom of the deck here. I didn't pull it out, but it felt like it was also part of this reading, but we'll talk about it. Balance is the Justice card from other decks. It's in the past in this reading. Here we have the Fool in reverse, same card. Moon reversed, again another repeating card. Sage of Crystals is the King of Swords. Four of Wands reversed. Woman of Wands. Four of Worlds upright. Hangman again. Eight of Wands again, more repeating cards, and the Sun again. So there's a lot of repeating cards in this spread, but the configuration is quite different here. But what I feel is that there is more or less a reiteration of what I've said in the previous reading here. But let's see if I can bring through some additional insight that will help you. At the foundation of the reading here, in the unconscious mind, there's this Eight of Cups in reverse. So this is describing a stagnation, which I touched on in the previous reading. And the crowning card of the reading is Ten of Wands. It's in reverse in this deck, and this card is called Growth. So what this is saying, across this axis from the unconscious to the conscious mind, it's describing here that on a deep level, you're aware that you have stagnated in certain areas of your emotional and spiritual development, and that your consciousness, your spirit, your awareness, your higher self wants to draw you upwards in towards growth and evolving. And through that, there is a need, in order to do that, there is a need here to address places where you have become too fixed and too established in certain types of roles. I'm hearing like roles in the way that you kind of express certain archetypes. There's something fixed in that way. There's something too determined. Again, this determination thing keeps coming up from the previous reading, from this Chariot card in reverse. I'm feeling it again in this reading. There's something too fixed about the way you see yourself and the way you see your role, in the way that you interact with other people, and the way that you perceive your archetypes, and the certain types of agendas that you are, again, role playing out in the world. It's interesting, you have the Moon and the Sun together in this quadrant of the reading. This is again describing you and how you see yourself right now. So Moon reversed with the Sun. This is telling me that, again, on a deep unconscious level, on a soul level, on a spirit level, there is a desire here for you to illuminate parts of your shadow that has been hidden and buried and operating certain aspects of, well, all of your life really. There's parts of your shadow mind. We'll see the Moon in both readings, both reversed. There is some aspects of the shadow areas of your psyche that need to be illuminated by sun energy, light energy, in order for you to bring awareness to those things so that you can break the cycle of unconscious activity that has been running as a result of certain ways that you view yourself, or the way that you have, maintained a certain sense of self-awareness that is actually really outdated. There is something here about survival as well, I feel, with some of this. There's something about like your need for survival, and there's a certain way that there's fear-based operations that are running that has to do with you surviving. And in certain ways there is also some energy here about how you may need to feel like you have to, it's this competitive energy I'm feeling right now. There's something about like you feeling the need to be authoritarian over other people in order for you to succeed and to survive, right? And that's the main, I think that's, we got to the point finally in all this talking. I think that's the main point that we're addressing here in your reading, is where you feel competitive. And for some of you it can be very, very subtle, and you may not even have ever thought about the word competitive in relationship to your partners, your friends, your loved ones, your peers, your employees, or your bosses, if that's applying for you too. So, and now I see it. Now I understand a bit better what this was in the previous reading. This Five of Wands here is competitive. It's a competitive energy. So, whether it's about you having your ideas be the one that wins the argument, which is what the Five of Swords is. Here we have it at the heart of the reading. So this is definitely relevant here for some of you. So there is this need here for you to win arguments, for you to be the one with the authority, for the one that needs to be the smartest, the one that needs to win silently or vocally in whatever way. And sometimes you even compromise your own emotional well-being in order to have that like competitive edge where you feel like you are the authority, or you are the smartest, or you are like winning a conversation or an argument, even if it means that emotionally you're destroyed. It doesn't matter to you as long as you win. And that's something that is really being addressed here, and is needing to be illuminated and lit up with awareness. And it's what's going to require you to be receptive, as I described in the previous reading. There's a need here for you also to actually want to grow and thrive and overcome thought forms and patterns of behavior that actually have become very limiting. You know, you may have actually really worked with that kind of energy in your life until a certain point. But now it's time for you to grow in consciousness to the point where you understand that that kind of activity, energy, thought, feeling, behavior is keeping you very stuck and restricted in something that has long been over. And it's time for you to transmute and transform that energy so that you can evolve past survival mechanisms and really begin to thrive. All right, let's see what else is here. But it's just interesting to have the Fool again in reverse in your reading, the Moon twice in reverse, Hangman twice in your reading. So there's definitely a lot of, like your guides and your higher self really want to impress these messages upon you and really drive the point home, which is often why the same cards come out again and again in readings. Really highlight the points that are very, very important and really relevant. So, what else is here? I mean, in this reading, having the Justice card in the position of where you're coming into this reading from, this is past. This is telling me that there is a heavy karmic element to what's happening here right now. So, what you may be needing to acknowledge here is that if there is a repeating pattern playing out, it may be important for you to actually seek redress within yourself, and that could be where that ability and willingness to be receptive and seemingly passive in the circumstance is how you're going to attain enlightening information and awareness about the topic that's at hand here, right? So if you're coming from this perspective here, in this reading you have the Sage of Crystals together with the Eight of Wands. So Eight of Wands was in this reading. What this is telling me here is that if you are too fixed in your sense of self-knowing, which is what I feel in this reading and in the past reading as well, like you have this, there's a little bit of arrogance and a little bit of too sure of yourself. And there's nothing wrong with being confident, but if you're too sure of yourself to the point that you are blocking wisdom from reaching you, that's problematic, right? So 8 of Wands is here twice in the reading. These are the 8 of Wands. Both of them are upright. This is telling me that, again, there's a need here for you to be receptive to communication coming towards you, because this communication is going to have an activating effect. It has an activating effect. But it can't reach you if you're too blocked by the idea that you already know what the truth is. Okay? So don't cock block yourself to actually having a real moment here of awakening, of learning, of receiving wisdom and insight from places outside of you, whether it's your partner, boss, child, friend, random person in the supermarket, whatever. Don't block yourself from wisdom reaching you by thinking that you already know what the truth is. Because the status quo needs to be totally dismantled here. And it's for your benefit. You think that maintaining the status quo is actually what's good for you, but it's not. It's keeping you limited and stuck. Very restricted. And at the expense of your emotional well-being, right? So in the hopes and fears quadrant here, we have Hanged Man and 4 of Wands, both reversed. There's also 4 of Pentacles in the reading in the outcome here. You had 4 of Pentacles at the heart of the reading in the previous spread. And I was talking there about it, describing kind of a depletion of energy based on your fixed nature. And I feel that that's relevant here as well. But I would also say that this card, the 4 of Wands here, along with the 10 of Wands, these 2 Wands cards, both have to do with reaching for higher learning. Like, look at all the hands. Like, the imagery of the hands reaching to me is very significant. Both of these are in reverse though, so it's saying to me that unless you can switch gears here, as I've described earlier, and go from being too outwardly interested in impressing your opinions and ideas on others, but take a position of being receptive and receiving wisdom and information from others, then you can switch this around from being stuck in where you are to being actually available to growth and opportunity that's trying to access you. And I feel for a lot of you, there's a key feminine individual that is really relevant and has a healing force that it's trying to reach you. But again, unless you actually are willing to be open to the wisdom that is coming through, you could be really missing an opportunity here. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? It's kind of what it's coming down to here. Let's have a look at the bottom of the deck. Right, Lovers reversed. There's another 4 now, 4 of crystals in this reading. So there's 3 4s in this reading. There was 4 in the previous reading. We'll talk about it. 8 of Worlds. So there's 3 8s in the reading as well. So that's another indicator for me that this is a karmic situation, a karmic energy. Balance in this deck is also number 8. In other decks, the Justice card is number 11, but it's number 8 in this reading. So it's connecting me to all these 8 of Wands, 8 of Cups, and 8 of Pentacles, giving an energy of karmic opportunity. We'll talk about it. There's again strength and release in reverse in the same area of the reading this time. And again, Ace of Pentacles, I'm going to take that. Ace of Pentacles is upright here. It was also upright in the previous reading in the outcome. So what all these extended cards in this reading are telling me is that there is a huge opportunity here for you to have a major exponential leap in your evolution. And there is potential here for that to have a physical embodiment in a really vivid way in your day-to-day life, right? There is the ability here for you to change and transform and transmute old ideas, old thought forms, old concepts, things that you've been quite rigid on. But once again, unless you're willing to restrain your ego and be willing to actually adopt a receptive state of being, you could miss out on all this. You're being too much in the mind. There's too much air element in this reading. Too much of Swords. too much masculine, pushy, like penetrative energy, and not enough receptive, welcoming energy of like acceptance and receiving wisdom and knowledge from places that are outside of you, seemingly outside of you. We're all connected, so it's all the same thing. But there's a need here for you to overcome your fixedness with these two strength cards, both in reverse here. This is telling me like you need to overcome and restrain yourself and your willingness to be your desire here is to maintain the status quo by being forceful about your opinions and about your position. But in order to get this new beginning to actually become activated, like this Ace of Pentacles is only a potential. It cannot manifest until you shift your perspective and adopt a more receptive state of mind to be able to hear and witness and feel what it is that's actually required of you to illuminate from the shadow aspects of the self to actually generate an evolutionary step. So don't sell yourself short this time, Gemini. I feel like you've had this opportunity before. I feel like this that's evident from the fact that this Justice card is showing up here in your reading in the past. Like you've had the chance to look at this this cycle, this pattern, this specific thing before, maybe in a different context. And you may have been adopting the same position that you're at now, but maybe this reading is giving you enough insight and inspiration to see that you need to adopt a different way of approaching an old problem to generate a shift that you much need and want. And I feel that's it for your reading. I'm going to stop talking now. I hope you found that insightful. I hope there's some things in there that you can work with. I strongly suggest that you watch that again. There was a lot of information in that reading. Come back to it again later in the month. Perhaps you might find it more relevant after some events have occurred. Maybe you're not ready to hear this message now, but in a couple of weeks' time, it will be the right moment for you to actually hear what came through here today. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. It's an honor and a pleasure to read for you. Thank you so much for your time. It means everything to me. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next reading.